Hmm. I'm called this morning to share something that is typically fairly difficult to explain. And so we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I want to share an experience of life that's unfolding. Somebody asked me the other day, how it is that there's a presence of peace that seems to be predominant, that seems to be less and less impacted by the conditions of life. How it is that there's less of the old triggering. Somebody would say something or a life condition would happen in a certain way and it would trigger anger, fear, shame, blame, anxiety. And what happened? Why doesn't that happen as much anymore? And the answer that I gave, it can be a little bit confusing. The answer that I gave that felt very real was because the me that used to be there, the me that used to be triggered is largely gone. It's kind of an odd thing to say. Oh, that's because there's so much less of me there anymore. So that's been part of the experience. I'll explain or explore that more. But it's really what I'm speaking to is for myself or for anyone else for whom there is an awakening, for whom there is a awakening into an embodiment of, an abidance of true nature, consciousness, an embodiment of loving awareness as opposed to an identification with the conditioning of self. So that conditioning is what is departing. That conditioning is what is fading. That conditioning is what is weakening, lessening, fading away, disappearing. And the conditioning is where the triggers are. The story of self. I'm worthy, I'm unworthy. Therefore, what you just said, that it just triggered my story of unworthiness. That story of unworthiness is called our conditioning. Our constructed self. We've constructed a self that has all these different conditions. That's going away. That is not forward. That is no longer the first thing that life meets when life comes in, when as you move into a more awakened state. Life comes in through your senses and it isn't hitting your story of self. That's in the background. It's landing on the truth of you, the awakened nature of you, which is loving awareness. Words are always inadequate to describe what this nature of pure beingness is, but it has a quality of loving awareness, a witness that isn't cloaked in or clothed in or identified as the conditioning of self, the fears, the doubts, the anxieties, the uncertainties, which is just the story of self projecting itself, defending itself, needing to be validated. So the best analogy I believe that I have at this time is that when we awaken in the morning, we've been dreaming all night. And when we awaken in the morning, even if the dreams are still very vivid in the morning, we have a very clear knowing of them. Oh, I was being chased by a tiger, and then suddenly I was at the World Fair in London, and the next thing I knew I was flying in an airplane and the engine quit and we were crashing, but then I was in the forest in New Guinea. Dreams, right? Woo. When we awaken in the morning, that dream and all the feelings associated in that dream that felt so real while you were in the dream, when you awaken in the morning and start to move about your awakened day, that dream fades, doesn't it? It doesn't hold power. We can look at the dream and learn from it and say, oh, there's some interesting things in there that I can use and apply to this waking world. But the dream itself loses its power, and all the characters you were in the dream, they're just not real. In the moment of awakening in the morning, you can look back and say, wow, that is not an identity that I'm going to use to be, to reference myself, because it was a dream. As we awaken into the true nature of what we eternally are, our essential core soul nature, the conditioned self fades away, just as the dream fades away when you awaken in the morning. You come to recognize, not just cognitively, but in an embodied state, that this thing that we have been calling me is a dreamed state. It is a made up, that's a tough word. It is a dream is constructed in our mind. The self that we call ourself is a construct in our mind. And when that we awaken from that into the pure beingness, the consciousness, the loving awareness that we truly are, as that becomes more awake and apparent and real and embodied, the conditioned self fades away. The triggering fades away. The thing that was triggered is the conditioning. That fades, just like the dream fades in the morning. When you wake up, the dream fades away. And it's a wild thing to walk through the world awakened into pure loving awareness and notice how the thing that used to be me, you, I, isn't there anymore. It was dreamed up in the first place. It's not needed when we awaken. And just like we can look back in a dream last night and discover some things within that dream, some pointings, some awareness as to things we may want to work on or be aware of in life, the soul can look at the conditioned state of being that was dreamed up and learn from it about where fear was unnecessary, about where doubt was manufactured, created, dreamed. So I know this is a bit esoteric and a lot of people won't understand it. But truly, the peace of living as what we truly are is the freedom from the dream of the conditioned self. We are not that. And when the awakening begins, that dream can start to fade. And then the conditioning, which is the dream, fades. It disappears. It's not there any longer. It just isn't present. So again, a life condition happens, and what used to be there that could be triggered into anger and panic or doubt or shame or it's as ephemeral as a dream. It's not, it fades away. It's just not there. That's the opportunity. That's the possibility. And while in the dreamed state, it's like at night, in the dream, being in the dream, you can't even imagine that there's a dreamer. You can't even, it's just a foreign concept. It's not even where your awareness or consciousness is going. You're just in the dream being chased by the tiger. But if something in the dream can spark and say, wait a minute, it's lucid dreaming. You're in a dream. This isn't you. There's a dreamer. The tiger seems like it's chasing you, but it's not. The thing that we believe we are, we're not. We are not our conditioning. That is a construct we have created, just like we create a self in a dream. And that self seems very real while it's in the dream. But as soon as you wake up, you look back and you go, wow, that wasn't me. So this is the opportunity to point our awareness within our meditations, within our practices, to keep pointing the awareness to the pure essence of being within which the conditioned self is dreamed and being dreamed. But waking up from that conditioning fades. It just disappears. And it's a fascinating thing to have a life experience happen and notice, wow, there was an old dream of self that experience would have landed on, would have triggered. It's not there. Or that it's there less. Or that the trigger still may arise because the awakening takes a while. And we're not fully awake. We're moving in between dream and awake. And as we move in more into awake, there's still part of the dream that's still active, and that can get triggered. But if there's enough of the awake self, it just notices. It just notices. It looks in and goes, wow, I'm still identified with a conditioned self, and that just got triggered, but that's not me. Hard to explain, but there it is. Blessings and much love. And may you find the freedom from the conditioning that is not you. And have the bliss and the grace, experience the grace that is there when the dream isn't rampant and running the show. It's like waking up from a dream in the morning, and in the dream, man, it was so chaotic and it was so crazy, and I was scared and uncertain, and I didn't know how to deal with, but then you wake up, and as soon as you wake up, you can look back and go, oh my God, whew, wow, that was a scary dream. And I'm free from it. Oh, here I am in the awakened state. Oh, I've awakened in the morning, and I recognize I'm free from the chaos and the story that was running within the dream. I'm not that. Wow. Okay. I'm this. I'm awake. But now we come to another level of awakening that realizes this thing that calls itself awake in our kind of waking world is still a dreamed self. It's a constructed self in the mind. And when you awaken and say, what is aware of that? What is that dreamed self, that constructed self has been constructed within what awareness? And we awaken into that awareness and we say, oh, I'm the awareness that the constructed self has been created within. And then when we abide and wake up into the awareness of being, that constructed self, just like the dream, starts to fade. And it's no longer there. So life happens and it's not there to be triggered. Namaste. Much love. Blessings.
If you like this video and you'd like to see similar content, please subscribe to my channel. You can also click that like button down below, and that's going to make this video more available to more people. Also, visit me at my website, chessedwards.com. There's a link to that down below. There you are going to find valuable resources for living a conscious, peaceful, and powerful life. Also, there's going to be information there about how to work with me one-on-one and how to build your own 3-day custom private immersion retreat with me right here in Sedona. As well as information about upcoming group retreats, virtual retreats, and so much more. And I got a few free gifts for you. Thanks for watching.